Hello guys and welcome. I really wanted to share this animation that I did using Mixamo, Blender and DaVinci. I actually started just by playing with the non-linear animation in Blender, and in the end it came out like a really fun thing to do. So I wanted to share with you guys how I did it. So the first thing to do was creating the character, and in this case we're gonna use a really cool webpage called Ready Player Me, which is used to build characters for the metaverse. You can actually just save the avatar you create online, but you can download the file to use afterwards. So to create the character, it's pretty straightforward. We will go to our avatars and click on create new avatar. I have this one already created, but I'm gonna delete it so we can start from scratch. And afterward, well, you have like all the options to create it. In this case I chose the woman. You can use a photo, but in this case you can also use like templates. So we will go into here and search for a template that we like. And the cool thing is that we have like a lot of options to use. So here we have the avatar base, and we're gonna create the character to use in this animation. So now that we have the character mostly finished, we're gonna look into downloading the character. So in this hub, we can actually save the character online, but we're gonna use this option here. Here on the main page, when near the button that says claim your avatar, you can there's a little icon there where you can download the character, and it will download it like a .gtl, I think it's the name of the file, that we can import into Blender with all the textures and everything to use for animation. Okay, so now that we're back into Blender, we know the drill. We actually have to delete everything to have the scene clean, and we're gonna import the character that we downloaded from Ready Player Me. Before actually importing the character, I actually want to do an emphasis on one more thing, and we have to activate this add-on from Mixamo, which is a free add-on, but it's the one that we're gonna use to make the rigs to work with the animations. So just download it first and install it. Okay, so now that we have everything prepared, we have the add-ons ready. I have this one of Rococo as well, just for retargeting, but in this case we're not going to use it. And now we're going to bring into the scene our downloaded character, which are here with a really weird name, but if we click it on it, we have it in Blender, ready for work. And also, as you can see, it has a bone system created with it. It's actually a really good rig already. It works pretty well, and has all the textures in it. So it's actually a really pretty cool model to start working with it. Okay, so to start adding animations, first of all we have to change the format of this file. We downloaded in GTL, but we actually need it in FBX, and we need everything in FBX. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna export without selecting, because we want to export the whole scene. If it's empty, it's gonna work fine. We're gonna export the character, and we're gonna export it as an FBX file, so we can upload it to Mixamo, and we can start getting the character animations from there. So change of platform, we're gonna go to Mixamo, and we're gonna start looking into some animations. Okay, well now we're already in Mixamo. We have this character here, but we're gonna do the process again. We're gonna upload the character, look for the FBX files we already made. Here's mine, and we're gonna upload it to Mixamo. By the way, before we continue, one thing. In the Blender file, don't close the file where we had the character before, because even though we deleted the character, we actually can keep the materials from the character already created, and we're gonna add them later to the FBX file. So don't close the scene, so we can keep the materials saved in the file. And now we can go back to Mixamo. Okay, so as you can see, the character works perfectly because we already had the rig created, and it adapts really well with the animations. So now the character can actually be animated using this whole library of cool animations that we have. Okay, we can go crazy looking for animations, but the actual one that we want to choose is the T-pose animation. Just because we're gonna use this static pose to create the rig controls where we can retarget later all the other animations. So look for the T-pose, download it. I like to put the 24 frames, but you can do whatever you want. Then you can come back to Blender and import the FBX file. In this case, it will be called T-pose. Nice. So it's created, it's rigged, it still works. We have an issue, that is that the materials actually we've lost the textures in the materials, as the FBX file from Mixamo downloads the materials, but it doesn't download the textures. So right now it's gonna have all white materials, but the good thing is that we actually saved the materials from the other model. So we can just look for the double material that has been created and just change it for the first one, the one that had the textures on. Okay, so we're mostly finished with the character, and now what we're gonna use is the Mixamo plugin that we added before, which is gonna help us to create a rig around this control rig around this character, where we can afterwards retarget all the animations that we're gonna download. So what we're gonna do, first of all, finish adding the materials. And now I'm gonna hit my character's bones. I'm gonna go to my plugin and I'm gonna go to create control rig, keep all the options on, and we have the rig created. This rig actually works incredible because it's already skinned and everything, and we could actually do our own animations frame by frame already, but in our case we want to use Mixamo animation. Cool. Now we're gonna start adding the rest of the animations. For this, we actually need one thing to keep in mind, and is that all the animations that we're gonna add to the character have to be done with the same model as the character in Mixamo. But we don't need to download the full model again, just in case. Let's look for an example. I'm gonna look for an idle animation to start with. And when I download this animation, I want to download the animation without the skin, because I'm only gonna use the bones. Now in Blender, I'm gonna bring my bone animation. First of all, I'm gonna change my main character to another name, so I'm not overriding with the same FBX over again, because it's gonna change in Blender. And I'm gonna bring into my scene the FBX file with the second animation. Cool. Now I'm gonna do the retargeting using the Mixamo file. And one thing that I really recommend now is that we have to be really thorough with the organization. Like when we create different animations in Blender using non-linear, it can get messy really quickly. So first of all, I'm gonna open a window. One is gonna be for the timeline and one for the dope sheet. And this is how we're gonna be retargeting the files. We're gonna use the timeline, and in the dope editor, we're gonna use the action editor. So I'm gonna name my bones Mixamo idle, for example, just to have it a name to be able to recognize it. And my animation is gonna have another name later. But first of all, as you can see, I have my bones name. In my character, I will probably do the same thing. And now the process is super simple. With the Mixamo plugin, we hit the control rig of our character, we hit this, and we click on our animation, bones with the animation, and then we click here. As you can see now, the animation that we downloaded from Mixamo is actually added to the character that we already have. First of all, I want to name it, because now this animation is going to store on our character and it's going to get messy really soon. So I'm going to call it me underscore idle, and the other armature I can now delete it because the animation is already baked into our character. As you're gonna see now, if I open the action editor, there's so many files created for the animation. It's really cool to do like a quick cleanup first with the local data, so we only have all the files that are actually being used, and still there's gonna be files that we're not using at all, but there's gonna keep there. So I just really recommend to start naming things already now in the first steps of the process, just so we don't get lost. And we have a character with a first animation. Now the thing is that I want to add another animation and mix it with the first one to create some kind of flow with the animation. So I'm gonna look for a walk cycle, and I'm gonna retarget it again the same way as before, and I'm gonna save it on a new action layer so we can then mix it with the first one. So you know the drill. We're gonna and for this animation I'm actually gonna download it on place because I'm gonna animate it by hand so it moves. I'm gonna download the same thing without skin, with the same FPS, and download it into my computer. Okay, so back in Blender, we're gonna bring the animation into our scene. I'm gonna import the FBX and look for the walk cycle. Now what I need to do is, in my character, I need to create a new action editor layer, which is empty, where I'm gonna store the actual animation. Also, the animation, it's just one cycle, so before I'm gonna use the timeline to create the walk cycle a bit longer, so it repeats more time. And I'm doing this in the time editor, so I'm just copying the frames and sticking together. I actually deleted the first one, so the loop works, it loops perfectly. And I'm gonna copy it a few times so that the animation is a bit longer. Now it repeats a few times, and what I'm gonna do now is name, first of all, the animation of my bones as the Mixamo animation. And on my character, I'm gonna create in the action editor, I'm gonna add the bones on a new layer. As you can see, it's empty, so I'm gonna bake the rig, and now the animation is created in a new layer. I'm gonna name it so I don't get lost with all the things that Blender creates when we bake animations. I don't know why it happens, but it happens. And I have the animation baked on my character, my second animation. I delete the bones, and now if you see in my action editor, and we look into the layers, first of all, let's do a little cleanup. If I open my action editor with my character selected, we have my idle animation saved on one place and my walking animation on another. There's two separate animations that are saved in two different, let's say, layers, and these two layers now I want to mix them so they can start one and another on they can start on different time. Also, I'm gonna do another thing. I downloaded the file to be walk cycle on place, but I actually want my character to move. So the cool thing is that the master control has no animation in the walk animation, so I'm gonna animate it by hand. I'm gonna hit the keyframe on one frame and move the control to another position, so the character actually looks like it's walking forward. And what I actually like to do is I just put two keyframes and then move the control so that until the legs don't, I don't know, they stay on place, like so that the legs stay on place when they're actually moving, so it looks realistic. Okay, cool. Now that my legs are not moving, I mean they're moving correctly in the animation, we're gonna mix both animations, you know, the idle and the walking, so we have one and then we have the other. So to do this, we actually gonna open a new tab, which is the non-linear animation tab. And here you can see our layers of the animations shown like if there was like a video editor of some type. Okay. Back to the non-linear animation. To bring the both animations together, first I'm gonna look for the idle and I'm gonna hit. As you can see, I'm gonna hit this icon, push down, and now the animation is saved as a non-linear animation, which I'm gonna call idle, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the walking animation. I'm gonna hit the walking animation, go to the animation, and hit. And you can also push down on that icon. So now we have both animations together, and to be able to make them work, we have to change also these values so that the actual animation works. To strip, from hold, you change to nothing, and it changed to nothing. As now, as you can see, we have first the idle and then it starts walking through. And there you have it. We actually downloaded several animations from Mixamo and we added to the character and we mix them together. So first my character is on idle position and in a few moments it's gonna start walking. Nice. Now you can actually put one animation a bit on top of the other and do like a blend motion so that the change from one animation on to the other is really smooth. And there you have it. I used this method with more than, I think it was like maybe 5 different animations to create this video, and the other process was actually much simpler than the rest of it. This was actually the most complicated part. I'm gonna show you in the actual file of the final animation. What I did is I actually downloaded, I think it was maybe 4 different animations, which I baked each one of them into the character, add them to the non-linear editor of the animations. I'm gonna show you pretty fast. As you can see, here we have my character, and if you look at it, it has first of all a okay, as you can see, first it has like a running animation, starts running, comes from this point, and then it will change into a jumping animation, then to another jumping animation, then to an idle fight. Then I added some fighting animations from Mixamo, and then I end up like adding one more idle. As you can see, this is my non-linear editor. It's basically what we did repeated like 5 times, and this was how I did it. Later, as you can see, for the cameras, well, I added different cameras, different shots to record this animation. I actually was a bit careful because on some of the transitions from one animation to the other, it didn't do like a really smooth or realistic change. So I took the care of maybe changing from one camera to another without actually showing my character, so that it looked that it actually transitioned correctly when it actually didn't. And then I also I did the same process with the bad guy. The bad guy also has like different animations downloaded from Mixamo. I did the same process. First I created in Ready Player Me, and then I took it to Mixamo. I added some animations and then add them to the non-linear editor. And that's it. As you can see later on, well, everything else just model around it, added some cool lights, some cool effects, and rendered with Eevee. And after a while, I think it took like maybe a week, or not even a week, maybe 2 weekends, just playing around with this, and actually it turned out to be pretty cool. So guys, I hope you actually learned from this and enjoyed it, and hope I gave you some inspiration, or I don't know, maybe an idea to create really quick and fun animations. Thanks for watching this, and bye bye!